What if your kettle could go online, spy on you, and demand to design itself? For a long time, it has been the designer, the creative, talented genius of invention. Then, at some point, as designers, we realized that people might have something to say about the things they will end up using. So we started to listen to what people have to say. As a matter of fact, there are crowds of people out there just eager to contribute design ideas. But what about things? If 854 people together designed this flexible power strip, imagine what would 20,000 power strips have designed together? Can an umbrella and a power strip form a social network and invent new services? Can things be part of the design and innovation process? Can things design things? I have begun to explore this question about a year ago. MIT and Skoltech had organized an international workshop with people from academia and industry asking, how would you use technology to foster innovation? Whoa. So I was locked in this hotel for 5 days, trying to partner with people I didn't know in order to get funded, and I was just getting utterly frustrated. It was an impossible question, and the ideas floating in the room were just too conventional. But then, as crazy ideas usually are born, at 1 a.m. in the morning, in a team of 3, with my colleagues Chris Speed and Neil Rubin, we thought maybe we could ask things to do the work for us. Now, how do you turn to things? Companies have started to connect to the internet the things in and around our homes to make sure that they can receive and transmit data and they can work more efficiently. Well, incredibly so, this is called the Internet of Things. In mainstream Internet of Things, the things are usually instrumented with sensors and software to make sure that products perform the way they're supposed to. A printer remains a printer, and a car remains a car. But this is only the first step, because once released, products have secret lives. Rain boots want to be a doorstop, cups want to be a prop, and forks like to transvest on and off like a garden utensil. Maybe our imagination is the limiting factor. Maybe we ignore that things too have something to say about how they would like to be used. After all, a kettle is not just a tool for making tea for friends. It's also a tool for boiling water and making pasta to feed a family, for making a hot liquid detergent and cleaning the drain of the sink, or for ironing your clothes. So, how can we develop a way of spending time with things and listening to what they have to say? We started instrumenting a series of objects that usually end up living together. A kettle, a fridge, and a cup. We called it the KFC approach. We thought it was funny. We thought that together these objects could reveal insights not just along verticals, but also across horizontals. What does it mean? It means that rather than suggesting improvements around themselves, better versions of themselves, well, the kettle might provide insights about the cup. The cup might do the same for the fridge, and together they all might reveal insights into a practice such as cleaning the house. So we conducted a series of bizarre ethnographic studies to get a sense of what a day in the lives of things would look like. We wanted to probe what insights we could gain by looking at the world through the eyes of objects. We took a few smart cameras and stuck them on kettles, fridges, and cups across several houses. And then the character and life of these objects began to emerge out of the collected data. It was our next step in the Internet of Things. All of a sudden, our cup, fridge, and kettle started to reveal surprising social relationships with other objects. And so stoves and tables and even beds began to insert themselves in the picture and hang with our objects. Movement was key to these relationships. Now, the kettle was kind of lazy, didn't really move much, but the cup was a social butterfly. It kept going around, moving in space, and connecting, creating relationships with almost any objects it ended up being close to. So, for example, this cup begins the day in the kitchen, goes to the table, where it sees other cups, assumes it's kind of a tea party, hang out in there for a while, and then dives into the sink for a bath, and finally sits and relaxes at the bedside for a reading session. What a companion. The kettle instead, that didn't move really, was a time saver. Let me tell you, while people were waiting for the water to boil, the kettle created time for people to engage in all sorts of activities. Talking on the phone, reading the newspaper, doing some cleaning, even a couple of push-ups. So, the point is that objects do not live in isolation. They are embedded in a multitude of practices. There are unexpected, often unnoticed, interconnections and interdependencies between objects and practices we need to capture. The algorithms we use to learn from the data that things can create and transmit must be able to capture also when things are used for activities that are different than those originally intended, such as turning on the kettle for making laundry, or carrying your cup around as it was a pet. I believe that things have a different opinion on how they would like to be designed. What designers would call the misuse of a product is an untapped resource for innovation, exploiting the Internet of Things to mine massive data sets about a product, deviant interactions with humans, tells us of how people appropriate make relevant, create value for the things they use in everyday life. This opens up design opportunities we could not otherwise imagine. To do so, we need algorithms that look at how the same thing is used for different purposes. For example, at how stairs are used as storage and not just for leading us from one floor to the other. But the next generation of algorithms must look also at the reverse, at how storage is used as stairs, at how the practice of putting things away, storing them aside, makes things. Now, you understand that in this perspective, even a simple practice like storage can have a tremendous impact. It can help us rethink how we build houses, but it can also help us reimagine what a home is and how a new concept of home can change the way we relocate, connect to each other, and nest into neighborhoods and cities. The future Internet of Things will provide products and services with the ability to reinvent themselves and to suggest designs we could never have thought of before. I believe that having things co-design our environment will provide us with the ability to write and share with them a better future. A future where products are not just smart and efficient, but relevant. Personally and socially relevant in the long run. Thank you.